my anguish I cried to the Lord, and he answered by setting me free. Psalm 119, verse 32. I run in the path of your commands, for you have set my heart free. Psalm 119, 45. I will walk about in freedom, for I have sought out your precepts. People have always experienced freedom when they experience God and God's presence. Even if God recruits our obedience, we obey because we are free to choose to obey. We are not coerced into obedience. We are free to choose. It may best have been said 234 years ago by Thomas Jefferson, when, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My friends, Almighty God is the author of our freedom. It doesn't come from our government, and it doesn't come from ourselves. But in fact, personal and political freedom never has been a universally held value. Not everybody in the world wants these freedoms. They have not fought for them. They have not lobbied for them in any meaningful way. Throughout history, people have preferred a benevolent dictator to self-governance. Someone who will protect them from foreign insurgents. Someone who will allow them to go and come and do as they please, as long as they give obedience to the king or to the emperor. Two possible exceptions in history, of course, have been the Greek states in the 5th century BC, the age of Pericles, and the United States in the 18th century, in the day of Jefferson. Never in history has there been a nation that valued personal, political, and national freedom all at the same time. Other nations have had one or other of those, but never all three at the same time. That has been reserved for the United States of America. We are the only nation who's been willing to defend these rights with our blood. The great American experiment of self-governance has indeed been a light unto the nations. That has been our calling as a nation, just as it was for Israel to all the nations in the Bible. Now, God created us with unalienable rights, rights from which we cannot be alienated or separated, because they belong to us from God. Now, these are not political rights. They cannot be taken from us by a political process. These are human rights created by God through nature and in our creation as human beings, because we are the apex of God's creation. He wanted the very best for us. He gave good things to elephants, to dogs, to fish, to birds, wonderful things. But we have the freedom of moral conscience, the freedom to be independent of all masters, save God alone. Now, slavery to sin and other human beings was not God's intention in His creation. Slavery to sin is an abomination of God's laws and God's laws of nature. So is the adulteration of the right to protect life at all ages. We have that freedom. We have that right to protect life at all ages. We have the God-given right of personal freedom to speak and act and work. We can be lazy if we choose, but we pay the consequences. We have the God-given right and freedom to pursue whatever makes us happy under the laws of a civil society. We have that from God, not from the government, and not because we necessarily choose it for ourselves. Now, this is not new with the United States. Moses and the people of Israel learned these things from God about unalienable rights when he liberated them from bondage in Egypt. This is biblical stuff. I'm not making this up. This isn't a political speech. This is about the Bible. God taught the people of Israel how to live under the Ten Commandments, where they learned to treat their neighbor and their parents and their children with love and respect, where they learned that the Ten Commandments gave them a moral compass that promotes liberty under God and among other people. Jefferson and Hamilton and Adams didn't make up these things. They learned them through centuries of the Christian Judeo tradition. God taught his people to fight for the promised land, to gain political freedom, and to pursue happiness in personal and national freedom. That was the first time in history that any nation had ever fought for all three of those things, and it was short-lived. But they fought for them and won their freedoms, all three of them, for a short while.